Hey, it's time for a March TBR. Hi, I'm Colleen Delaney. On this channel, I talk about books and writing. If those are things you're interested in, hit the subscribe button and follow along. Quick note for today, I apologize. It is so dark here. We are having an ice storm like a great portion of the middle of the country is. And so I have to have my overhead lighting on, which I usually don't. And so I'm going to get weird shadows. And before we start, one more thing. I'm going to be a good author and tell you should sign up for my newsletter, which I will link in the description. And you get a free copy of The Forest Witch, which is a spicy paranormal romance novelette about a witch and a warlock in the Pacific Northwest. So there's a link in the description. And now let's get into what I'm actually going to read in March. I'm not going to lie, February hasn't been a great reading month, not in terms of what I've read, but just in terms of motivation to get reading done. So there are some things on this month's TBR that were on February's TBR. The first being Mame by Jessica George. This was my book of the month pick for February, and I am saying right now it will be the first book I read in March, which I do that a lot. If there's a book I was really excited to read in a month and I don't get to it, I often make it the first book I read the next month. So this will be it. So I have like just a few days before I'm going to read it. This is about Maddie, and she lives in London, and she takes care of her father who has Parkinson's, and her mom travels between London and Ghana, but is gone a lot, making the caregiving of her father kind of on Maddie's shoulders. But something's going to happen in this book in which Maddie then gets a little more freedom, and she sort of gets to embark on her adulthood finally. I know this is going to be a little sad. I can just tell, but I think it's also going to be a really fun read. It's been a while since I read like a coming of age adult book, which I do like those, sort of when you like go from young adult to adult. So I think I'm going to like this a lot and maybe cry. We'll see. Next up, I have an ARC, The Heiress at Sea by Christy Caldwell. This is a historical romance that takes place on a ship, which I haven't read one of those in a really long time. And those were some of my favorites when I first started getting into romance novels. So we have Lady Cassia, and she is a spinster, and she is cool being a spinster. She does not mind at all. But she also isn't going to be one of those people that just like sits in the corner of drawing rooms and listens to people talk. So she decides to disguise herself as a strapping young man, as one does, and join the crew of a ship, as one does. Nathaniel is a duke by accident, sort of. He was not supposed to be a duke. His older brother was, but his older brother has died, and now Nathaniel has to come home from war and do duke things. I don't really know what dukes do. Manage accounts, right? That's what they do. But he decides he's going to have one last mission for the queen as a naval officer before he does so. But all of a sudden he notices that maybe that teenage boy is actually a woman. Yes, that's a woman. And now he has to protect Cassia from both the elements and the hardships of being at sea and his crew. It would not be super fun to be a lady in that time period. Stuck on a boat. And by lady, I just mean human woman. Next, I have another ARC, which is Barbarian'S Mate by Ruby Dixon. Here's a funny story. I've been reading the Ice Planet Barbarian series entirely via NetGalley. I get ARCs from them. That stands for Advanced Readers Copies because I'm a librarian. Now, I actually know the entire plot of this book, and that's because my favorite romance podcast, Heaving Bosoms, did this book a long time ago. And the best part of this is an episode of theirs that if I'm in like panic mode, like I'm having a panic attack, I listen to it and I calm down. Like I'm not lying. To give you an example, the beginning of the pandemic was very bad for my anxiety. I was just very worried about my children. I have very bad asthma myself. So I would have really terrible panic attacks. And one night I was having a really bad panic attack, and I put my headphones on and put this episode on and put my eye mask on. And I started laughing so hard that my husband came over and shook me. It was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I think he thought I was having like a legitimate nervous breakdown. But I wasn't. I was listening to a fantastically funny episode of Heaving Bosoms. So I can't wait to finally read this one. I've been kind of waiting to get to it in the series. And if you've watched my channel regularly, the last Ice Planet Barbarians book, which I can't remember the title of right now, was not my favorite, and I was kind of lukewarm on the series, so it's great that I'm going to read this one now. Next up, I recently went to Half Price Books and bought a bunch of books, and I'm planning to read some of them, and I put 3 on my TBR list for March. I'm not sure if I'm going to read all 3 of these, but I'm going to try. The first one is The Witchling by Yasmine Galinorn. This is a book that came out in 2006 about a group of sisters who are half human, half fae, and have like witchy powers, and they have a portal to the other world. Here's the thing. I bought this book because I liked the cover. I like witch romance. I feel like if you don't like rom-com witch romance, there's not a lot going around. I am fully understanding that this book might be like very toxic, very 2006. I kind of don't care. The cover is like exactly what I wanted to look like when I was 22 years old, which is very different from what I actually grew into, isn't it? But I think it'll be fun. I want to give it a try. We'll see. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe I'll burn through this series. Maybe I'll have a new favorite author. Or maybe it'll just be like a fun way to spend a couple hours in dreary March. I also got A Daring Arrangement by Joanna Shupe. If you watch me, you know I love Joanna Shupe. I've been kind of sad because her last series, The Fifth Avenue Rebels, ended, and I loved that so much. So I was very happy to find the first book in a backlist series at Half Price Books. This one is about Lady Honora, not sure how you say it, Honora Parker, and she needs to get engaged like yesterday because her dad wants her to get married, but she also wants to get engaged to a man who is so terrible that her dad refuses to allow them to marry so she can stay single. So she's going to find someone who's into that, who's going to be her pretend fiance, but I bet they fall in love. I can't wait to read this. Joanna Shupe writes in the Gilded Age, which I always like reading her books because they're just like slightly different than the Regency or like Highland Scotland time period that we're used to. And the last book I got from Half Price Books that I might read in March, not the last book I got from Half Price Books, I'll put a link in the description of the video where I talked about everything I bought there, is The Ice Queen by Alice Hoffman. I did not know anything about this, but Alice Hoffman is one of those authors that I really love, and I think her prose is beautiful. And I read the first page of this, and it was fantastic. And now I really want to read it. I was originally going to wait till like April or May to read this, but I kind of can't stop thinking about the beginning. I'm going to make you listen to it again. If you watch all my videos, you already had to listen to it once, but you're going to listen to it again. Be careful what you wish for. I know that for a fact. Wishes are brutal, unforgiving things. They burn your tongue the moment they're spoken, and you can never take them back. They bruise and bake and come back to haunt you. That's how you open a book. Okay, lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about Book of the Month in general. First things first, I'm still reading Babel. And I think I'm going to be reading Babel for a really long time. I told myself I was going to read 100 pages in February. I'm filming this on February 22nd, so I still have like 6 days. But I've read 0 pages in February. I just haven't been like really itching to pick it up. But beyond this, which I hope to read at least some of this week and then some of in March, I was originally going to force myself to only buy 1 book this month from Book of the Month. And I usually splice in, if they come out with their list before I release the video, what I actually picked. And I will do that at some point. But they release a clue on their app. And I don't usually use the Book of the Month app, but I do download it once a month, look at the clue, and then delete it. And I'm pretty certain that the London Seance Society by Sarah Penner is one of the books. And that is because the clue is like bluish flowers and a candle. And the cover has some flowers on it and a candle. And it said that it's a repeat author in The Lost Apothecary she did with Book of the Month. That's one of my most anticipated reads of the year. So I will obviously get that. I have a ton of credits, like a ton. Like this morning I was seriously considering reaching out to Book of the Month and being like, hey, can you let me buy more than 3 books a month one month? But they'll probably say no. But so I was originally thinking I was only going to let myself buy 1 book and I was going to get that book. And I might only get that book. If that's the only one I'm interested in, I'm only going to get it. But here's the thing. I don't have a thriller on my March reads, and I do really like to read a thriller every month. So I might pick a thriller also. And I am currently reading Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, which is, besides Babel, and Mame, the only other Book of the Month book I have in my possession that I haven't read. I'm planning on finishing Spinning Silver in February. I don't have anything else on my February TBR besides to read a little bit of Babel. And I think I can do it. I have 6 days. I'm only like 75 pages in, and I do like it. I started it last week, but then my husband went out of town, and I really only wanted to read a romance while he was gone because I wanted something like so light that I knew that wasn't going to be scary at all. So I stopped reading it. And then after he got home, I kind of wanted to read a thriller. So I read that instead. But I'm pretty confident that I'm going to finish that. And then Mame isn't very long. And I always think if I can finish a book before my package arrives, that's not bad. Because if I finish those two before my package arrives, then this is my only backlist book of the month I haven't read yet. So then I don't feel so bad about ordering more than one. I'm not allowed to get 3 this month, though. Tell future me that. 2 is the absolute hard limit. I love saying this just in case I'm hemming and hawing between like 4 books. Hopefully nothing else I've been dying to read is coming out this month. Hi, I'm like really excited because I didn't think they were going to release the books today. It's February 27th. I thought they're going to release them tomorrow or maybe even on March 1st. And I just opened it on a whim. And the first book has the most beautiful cover ever. And it's not the one that I thought I was going to buy. So we'll see what happens. I do currently have 14 credits. So I can kind of go crazy if I want to. And I feel okay because I finished Spinning Silver yesterday. And I read like 50 pages of Babel yesterday. So I'm feeling like a rock star. Like, how many books do I want to buy? So the first one's called Wayward, and it's by Amelia Hart, and it's magical realism. It's an ode to the natural world and female power. This lush, generation-spanning novel is equal parts daring and inspiring, which sounds phenomenal. Oh my God, the next one looks so good too. The Adventures of Amina al-Sharafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Oh, she wrote City of Brass. This swashbuckling pirate's captain's last hurrah will have you clutching your spyglass ready to hit the high seas. Next, I was right, The London Sand Society by Sarah Penner, from the author of The Lost Apothecary, a gothic fable teeming with mystery and occult forces where none can be trusted. The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. It's a thriller. When an old acquaintance dies, it dredges up demons of the past that threaten to unravel a seemingly perfect marriage. The next is an easy no because it's horror, but it's called The Lone Women by Victor Lavale. I don't know how to say that. But that's an immediate no for me because I don't read horror. I'm too scared. The next is The Last Russian Doll by Kristen Loesch. It's historical fiction. This epic story weaves one family's tragic splintering into a larger tapestry of Russia's turbulent 20th century. Oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Next is Rootless, which is a contemporary fiction. An unexpected pregnancy pushes a married couple into a raw and emotional exploration of what it is they truly want. Oh my gosh, so many of those sound so good. Okay, now I also have to see what the add-ons are. They do have some new add-ons, but nothing that looks like something I would like really want to read. What is this? Pineapple Street. Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson. Contemporary fiction. Brooklyn's 1%. I don't really like stories about New York. I probably wouldn't like that. Okay, and then I have some questions for you by Rebecca Mackay. She's like from sort of near where I live, so she's always like a big deal around here. Twisty is your favorite true crime podcast and full of hard questions about power. No ordinary boarding school tale. I don't know. Some of these I think I might put on my like TBR for next month because so many of these look so good. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm going to get the London Sand Society because I really want to read that book. But I'm going to get some add-ons. Let's look at Wayward. It says, go ahead. You want to judge this book by its cover. It's probably the best one of the year. I do agree. It's fantastic. 2019. Oh, it's a multiple timelines. I have to do it. So it's 2019, 1619, and 1942. I mean, it does have a content warning for sexual assault. I think that I'll probably be fine. Okay, I always read like what's it called? The little thing they give you, the preview. And it looks phenomenal. Okay, let's add that to my box. Add to box, and then let's do one more quick look. Okay, so I kind of don't want to get the one by Shannon Chakraborty only because I have Kingdom of Copper up on my shelf and I haven't read it yet. And I feel a little bit like I need to finish the books I have by her before I buy another one. I think I'm going to put that on my like TBR, which because I have so many credits, I can usually buy books that are on my TBR. So let's put that one on my TBR. And then let's see what else. What was the other one? The Soulmate sounded kind of good because I don't have a thriller to read. Oh, it's an early release also. Psychological sad rural marriage issues. There's a cottage on a cliff, Gabe and Pippa's dream home in a sleepy coastal town, but their perfect house hides something sinister. The tall cliffs have become a popular spot for people to end their lives. Nope, I don't want to read that. Okay. That actually makes it so much easier for me when it's like, I know there's something in it that I don't want to read. That makes it a lot easier. Okay, let's go back to the add-ons one last time. What's this? Hello, Beautiful? I didn't see that one. Contemporary fiction by Anne Napolitano? Emotional, inspiring, underdog siblings. I do love sibling stories. Let's see. William Waters grew up in a house silenced by tragedy where his parents could hardly bear to look at him, much less love. I don't know if I want to read that. Let's look at the Rebecca Mackay. I have been feeling kind of bad about myself lately since I haven't read a lit fic in a really long time. This one's a lit fic. Okay, now this kind of sounds like I would like it. A successful film professor and podcaster, Bodie Kane is content to forget her past, the family tragedy that marred her adolescence, her 4 largely miserable years at a New Hampshire boarding school, and the murder of her former roommate in the spring of their senior year. Though the circumstances surrounding Talia's death and the conviction of the school's athletic trainer are hotly debated online. Okay, that sounds kind of like Cold Cases with like the online aspect. Is the real killer still out there? Also contains mentions of sexual assault. It might be a rough month for me, but I think I want to read it. Mentions makes me think it's not going to be as intense. Okay, I'm going to get this. I haven't gotten just add it to my box. I'm going to get 3 books. I'm sorry. I know I just did this whole thing in the video about like, I should only get 1 book, but I did finish Spinning Silver and I made some headway on Babel. And I know I'm going to read Mame in like 2 days. So I'm very confident by the time these 3 books get here, Babel will be the only one I haven't finished. I hope. I don't know. Who cares? I'm feeling book rich. Let's be book rich. London Sand Society, Wayward, and I have some questions for you. There you go. So hopefully you just watched a clip of me picking out my book of the month picks, and hopefully I only picked 1 or 2. What are you most excited to read next month? If you have a title, drop it in the comments. If you don't, and you made it to this far in the video, you can put a rain cloud emoji in the comments because it's very rainy here today. And usually March is very rainy for me. It's better than when I have a really snowy March, which I supremely dislike. But I have a feeling that this year it's going to be a really, really rainy March. Like a flooding rainy March, which is just lovely, but good reading weather. As always, I hope you were in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.